He's Metz. He's Tass. It's the Metzger Tassoul Show.
Well, look who it is.
Hello, Mr. Shane Tassoul. How are you?
Baby blue. Good, how are you?
Going with Easter colors.
Oh, the pastels. Very nice.
Anyway, how's everything? You had a nice vacation.
I did. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. It's always good to get back, but came back to, I don't know, 18 inches of snow or something. So it's a lot. We closed the school last Wednesday, Thursday, and then again Monday. So it's been a little bit brutal.
Dude, I feel you. I mean, it's been hot here. It's just been brutal with this 86 degrees.
You guys closing down the schools.
Yeah,
you guys, I think you guys were cutting expenses. You don't have any air, do you?
No.
Yeah.
You want to talk about air? I just approved. I mean, this is what air ACs are going. So, we'll try to repair as much as we can. So listen up, school owners. The beauty of owning at our World Training Center. We had some units there because we bought that building, as you know, we bought that building, and
that's a bigger space, so you have quite a few units, I'm guessing.
There's quite a few units, and we did an addition on the back, and we have a brand new unit, but the other units are old, right? And I keep saying, just repair. We'll just call you, just repair them. The last thing I heard last week was we can't even clean the coils because they're falling apart as we try to clean the coils. So I just approved 2 new AC units, $13,000 a piece.
I was going to say 30 grand total, but 13,000 a piece. Yeah.
26,000.
Yeah.
So, ouch.
Joy. And a lot of school owners, if they don't look at their lease, a lot of school owners are responsible for that, right? So that's something you guys may want to check out in your leases. I know for us, we pay a quarterly maintenance fee of like $249, and then I think the first $1,000 is on us if there's something wrong, and then after that, the landlord will replace it. But obviously, in this case, you guys own the building, so a little bit different. Yeah. Well,
anyway,
it's only a couple upgrades, baby.
Segue. Anyway, so yes, so that is the topic of today's show. Mr. Perry just walked in. Same as last week. That's okay. This is a taboo subject in the industry. Not for some, but for a lot of people, right? And it's okay. It's not. This is just my belief, right? It's okay if you want to have upgrades in your school, or if you don't want to have upgrades in your school. I think it's how you define what an upgrade is and how you do upgrades in your school that makes the difference. But it is my belief. Is it a belief or is it a truth in business? Forget the martial arts industry. I'm asking you this question, Tass. Is it possible to maximize business revenue without having some type of upgrade in your school? Or forget your school, in a business. I
mean, that's why Starbucks only sells the small cups, because they don't want to, increase their revenue. No, it's not. I mean, look, it's not possible. That in the way you ask the question is important. Is it possible to be successful in a martial arts school without upgrades? The answer is yes, you can be. But that's not the question you ask. The question you ask, is it possible to maximize your success? And the answer is no, you just can't.
Let's call. I mean, nobody likes to chat on here because I guess we have the microphone, but your financial success.
Right.
I don't know if having an upgrade or not has anything to do with the quality of your student in your core programs, right? But we're talking about financial success, and you say no. You're saying it's not a belief. You're saying you think that's a truth.
I'm not saying I think that's a truth. I'm not saying it's my opinion. I'm saying it's fact.
Wow. Come on. Where are you hiding, industry?
It's fact. I mean, we've seen it happen over and over again. And it was, I say it felt like it was 2 years ago, but it was probably 5 years ago we had the conversation about, upgrades and the difference that they make in revenue in a school on a monthly basis. And I think this is where a couple things. Number one, there may be upgrades may be a taboo subject in the industry because the way upgrades, maybe that some people have heard the way some upgrades happen, which is maybe the way they were happening 30 years ago, where I remember being taught that an upgrade is you're going to hold certain things back from people and then make them pay more if they want to get that material. Well, yeah, that would be a bad upgrade. I mean, if your core program, and by the way, guilty. I mean, I remember years ago, we had a 6-month basic program. And within the 6 months, our mission within the first 3 classes, right? This is years ago. This is not what we do today. Was to highlight, spotlight, and invite in the first 3 lessons and have them upgraded before their first monthly payment ever hit. That was what our goal and what our mission was, right? And that didn't feel right at all, and it wasn't right. But part 2 of that was, if we didn't have somebody upgrade within the 6 months, I literally remember telling people, look, there's people are curious and serious about martial arts. You guys obviously seem like you're just curious. If you're not want to do Black Belt Club as an example, whatever we called it back then, I'd recommend you guys go to the Y. They have a great community program and a rec program that you can go train at the Y. We would literally turn people away if they wouldn't upgrade into our higher level training program. I mean, we did not have a student after our 6-month program that was not in an upgrade program. And that's forcing the upgrade, right? Which we talk about is not the right way to do that. If you went to, I used Starbucks earlier, if you went to Starbucks and you said, well, you have to buy the venti, right? Well, there may not, they may get some lashback, or people may not want to do that, or this is the only flavor that we have, right? So I think it's important when people look at upgrades is how were they done 30 years ago? How are some people still doing them today? We did the other one, right? And this is semantics, but where we would have a 30-minute class and we would bow off all the second-class citizens, and if they were paying more, they stayed for the extra 15 minutes. That wasn't the right way to do it. So I think it's about, when we talk about upgrades, I think the first thing people have to do is tune out what you think an upgrade is and get your mind wrapped around, well, what is a good upgrade program? And how can it be an option for someone that nobody has to do, that they can go through your core program, get a black belt in your core program without ever having to upgrade? But it's interesting because they can do that in our schools, right? But 80% of our people are in an upgrade program, and very, very, very few people in our school ever make it to black belt that are in our core program, because it becomes a culture in our school. And people see it and they want to ascend, and they want to go. They're not forced to go. They choose and they want to go to the next level because they see that value in the program.
100%. And the question on here is, who on here has upgrades in their school? Who does not? Mr. Maddox does, and Miss Ramos does. Thank you for the 2 of those people that are joining us today for the show. Hey, listen, in all seriousness, if you're listening to this, because it's funny, I can see the viewers, right? And the viewership went like this. And then the question came up on the screen, and then it went like this, right? Because upgrades right off the bat for certain people are a complete turnoff right off the bat. It's a turnoff when they see it. They have their opinions on it, right? But again, I think it's just the way we define what an upgrade is. And before anybody else signs off, I think you should just hear this. Whether you do upgrades or not, right? You got to understand, because some of you on here do upgrades, but I think they don't do them what I would consider the right way for the customer, which is what you just explained, how you used to do them.
Right.
There's a lot of people on here that force an upgrade, meaning, hey, you're already through intermediate. You either have to upgrade to the higher program or you got to leave. That is not the right way to do it, right? I've said this before. I know a lot of people on here probably have seen some of the webinars or heard me say this, and some of you may not have. But an upgrade is really this, and I want you to understand this. And this is the way you should explain it to your team members, right? So they really understand. And I did this at the Super Show a couple years ago about the steakhouse, right? If I want a great steak, if Shane and I went to a steakhouse, Ruth's Chris, Capitol Grill, Eddie V's, any great steakhouse, right? Because we're craving steak, we're going to pick a steakhouse. So we go to Eddie V's and we both want a New York strip. But he's going to order the $60 New York strip and I'm going to order the $60 New York strip, right? But he wants to have a glass of wine for $15. He also wants to start with a shrimp cocktail before the meal. He wants a salad before the meal, and he wants dessert after the meal.
Jesus, dude.
You're right. I'm sorry. And he would like a second shrimp cocktail.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I left it out. And a third dessert.
That's right.
But here's the deal. Their core product, steak, right? Seafood, whatever, steak. I'm not getting a second-rate steak because I'm a $60 customer and he's a $200 customer. We're both getting the same quality steak. The way that works in your martial arts business is, what is your core art? We teach Taekwondo. That's your steak. Anyone that joins your school should never have to upgrade, should never have to do anything, and they are going to get the same quality Taekwondo instruction as anybody else. But Shane in that school says, but man, I really want to compete more, or I want to learn how to do eskrima sticks, which is not part of Taekwondo curriculum, let's just say. Well, we do offer those classes. It's X amount of dollars more per month if you want to go into those classes. However, has nothing to do with your rank, has nothing to do with you getting your black belt in Taekwondo and beyond. But if you want to, we have it available, just like we have a dessert available. We have shrimp cocktail available. We have wine available. It's a choice. It's a menu. It's options, right? Now, one can argue that the student who starts learning eskrima or jujitsu or judo throws, whatever it is, right? One could argue they eventually probably would be a more well-rounded martial artist. But if we were all going to the Olympics to compete in Taekwondo, all of that other stuff would have no bearing on Taekwondo, right? So we give people these options. And if the customer sees value, they will let you know if it's worth it, depending on whatever you're charging. The customer will decide, right? Now, why is that so important? Here's why it's so important. Talking with people in the industry, everybody, it's funny. I was just on the phone with Chris Rodriguez, GrowPro agency, digital marketing, does leads, right, for hundreds and hundreds of schools now. But she wanted me to do a webinar coming up in a few weeks or in a month or whatever it is. But anyway, she called me this morning and said, hey, I think you really should do a webinar and we need a title about how you're billing recurring revenue, because she had some people ask, somebody sent her a message saying, I don't get it, I don't understand it, but how your recurring revenue, your monthly billing check, should never be more than 50% of your overall gross, right? Your billing check, let me put the analogy in this way. Let's just take Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Do you think just their steaks represents 90% of their overall revenue? I bet you their steaks, they are a steakhouse. I bet you their steaks represent way lower than 50% of their overall gross revenue, right? The only way you can grow that recurring revenue is by getting more students on that recurring revenue. That's the only, or you could raise prices, right? If you have 100 people paying you monthly, you could say, I'm raising the price by $20 a month and you're going to increase your revenue, right? You could do that. But the only other way is I got to get more people on it. So this is why in our industry, people call you, Tass, and me and say, hey, I need some help. I need to get more students. I need to enroll more students. I need to get to 300 students. If I could just get 50 more students, and I ask them why. And it all breaks down to, I need the revenue to help pay or make money myself or pay my staff. But how many ways are there to generate revenue other than your billing? And that is what is important. And upgrades, by the way, is, Tass, would you say the number one way? The number one way to increase your revenue. Just imagine what Ruth Chris would be like.
The only thing that I would say would be a second close would be a school that has an attrition that's out of control. That would be the only other thing.
Which, by the way, what takes care of that too?
Upgrade programs, a byproduct is you'll retain students longer.
You will retain students longer. And you could ask if you're interested, and well, there's some things up here, I'll look at it. But listen, what do you think? And we're just using this as an example. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, what kind of revenues would they have if they did not serve alcohol, if they did not serve salad, if they did not serve dessert, if they did not serve any appetizers, and all they had was steak and seafood? You know what? You wouldn't hear of Ruth's Chris Steakhouse because they wouldn't be in business, right? They have upgrades, ways to get more money per customer, and ways to get each customer to have more transactions when they come in. We're not just saying, hey, they don't sit around and say, we need 100,000 square foot restaurant because we need 10,000 people to come in tonight and buy steak. They don't do that. They need 100 people to come in tonight, but they have these upgrades because they're not just dropping $60 on a steak. We know our average customer spends $150. Why? I want a glass of wine. I want this. I want that. Same thing in our business. We're a business. Don't lose the integrity of your core program. Don't lose that. Charge for whatever you feel that core program is worth. Your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, your Taekwondo, your Hapkido, your kickboxing, your MMA. It's a core program. But you can offer other things that can enhance you as a martial artist that has nothing to do with the core integrity of whatever the required curriculum is of your program. What are you reading there, Tass? What do we have here? Anything?
I was just trying to do a quick search on the breakout of Ruth Chris revenue by category, but couldn't find it. But I just thought that would be interesting for everyone to
jump on. Go ask ChatGPT. Hurry up.
Right. Yeah, food versus beverage or whatever. Thought maybe I could find it quickly, but I can't.
Hey, real quick. So Mr. Nelson says, I plan to implement them when I can expand the schedule. As of now, all students have the core program. Mr. Nelson,
Here's misconception.
Go ahead, Tess. You want to respond to that?
Well, yeah. I mean, the question, great picture, by the way. It's like Bruce Lee right there. It could be a misunderstanding of how upgrades work in your school, because oftentimes you don't need more classes most times to have an upgrade program. We simply change the experience for them on the second day. So, that would be a reason that I would, pick up the phone, call Metzger or myself, or shoot us a message, and we can explain that to you and go through your situation. But again, I would want to know more about that. But that's usually the case is, it doesn't require, and this is where people have that misconception. It requires another day of training for people. And so some people, old school was they'd have their upgrade program. They'd offer it for $25 a month more. One Friday night a month, they would have a special Black Belt Club only class, and it was $25 a month more. Well, then we dealt with teens that were going into high school, and they were doing the school dances on Fridays, and so they couldn't come. Again, can you be successful doing that? Sure. Can you get everybody? No, because not everybody wants to come on a Friday night, right? So people don't often want to pay more to stay more or come more. It's about changing the experience for them. So I would challenge you, Mr. Nelson, in a good way on you probably could do an upgrade program right now and just change the class themes as opposed to the class times. But I also want to call this out, Metz. Mr. Michael Hutchings said, I do not have an upgrade program, which appreciate that, because a lot of people, maybe when the drop happened, do you have an upgrade program? I'm not going to respond. I'm out of here. So thank you for responding. And, as we're talking, I'd be curious to know, is there a reason that you don't have one? Just because, hey, I never thought about it, or yeah, I've got a bad taste in my mouth and I just don't like the idea of an upgrade program. I'd be curious to know if you're still on, if you want to chat that, and that'd be great.
Hey, and by the way, let me go back to my point here on the revenue side. But listen, everybody, look, I think maybe not all of us admit it to ourselves, right? Because we're afraid to admit it to ourselves and maybe feel like we're failing, that we're not making enough money in our business to even feel a little stress-free, right? Not to be rich, right? You don't have to be rich, but you want to be comfortable. You want to make sure you can take care of your family. Or some of you may be you're very comfortable, but you would love to supply a career to some of your students or an opportunity, and you're not making enough revenue to do that, right? But here's the deal, and it's simple, and I know you've heard this, right? But I'm saying this for anybody, just so it's conscious and it's in the forefront of your mind. But if you have 100 students in your school, right, and they're all paying $100 a month, and your recurring revenue is $10,000, $10,000 a month, because you have 100 students paying $100. If you created a value to where your customer said, man, I'll pay an extra $25 a month for that, right? 25 bucks. Now you're bringing in $12,500 a month. You just increased your revenue by 25%, right? Without getting any new students in your door. You follow me? So, and that's just that's just with the example of $25 more a month. But everybody's happy. And then I want to just respond to this real quick, and we'll look at that. But Taz, you said, yeah, I'll get there, but let me just say something you said. Shane said, this helps with retention. And you might be like, well, no, fun and exciting classes, then that. When all you have is whatever it is you offer to every single student all the time. We take seminars in this industry for the last 30 years on how to disguise repetition. But you don't necessarily need to be so good at disguising repetition if we can change up the experience of your classes in general. So if a student is just going through the grind, and as instructors, we want to get them to a black belt in our core program, how do we give them a different look? Why don't you try this program? I think you're ready for it. Now it's a whole different experience. But we're still accomplishing the goal of getting them to where we want, right? But now they're getting something new and exciting. Escrimas, bow staff, kamas, judo throws, jujitsu principles. Not that you're ranking anybody in these things, but the students just getting a whole new challenge, a whole new perspective, something different, right? So that helps with retention. All right, go ahead.
Well, if you're an ice cream store and all you sold was vanilla, right? So you're going to turn customers away because you don't offer, chocolate, or you don't offer this or that or whatever else, right? You can still offer those same things. And by the way, we can do this with any business out there, right? Some want a cup, some want a cone, some want this, some want the toppings, all the things. And I'm not trying to compare martial arts necessarily to an ice cream store or a car dealership or a Ruth Chris Steakhouse, right? But you have to understand the concept of what we're trying to say. And I think sometimes you and me, we both get passionate. And because there's not, this is great that we're getting interaction, but because sometimes there's not Zoom and we can't read facial expression and things like that, sometimes we tend to talk at you because we're trying to drill it home. Like we really just want you guys to understand the concept and then ask questions about it. And then after you ask questions and you understand it, you have an option and a choice. Yes, that's something I think I'd like to do, or yeah, I don't want to do that at all, right? But so you have this comment here, which is not the one I was referring to. I was referring to
this one.
No. From CJ Rivera. This is why Western martial arts, all they care about is numbers. Well, I challenge you on that, sir. I don't care. Yes, our numbers important. In any business, the numbers are important. But if Kraft Foods puts out a bad product that gets people sick, do you think all they care about is numbers, or they care about the people they're putting the product out? Because ultimately, the people are the ones buying the product. If all I care about is price, if all I care about is numbers in my school, and people are treated like a number, again, I'm not going to have good retention. I have to understand as a business owner that things I do in my school are for the best interest of the customer and for the martial arts school. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can do both things, right? So it's not all we care about. The way I'm reading that is, well, you really don't care about your students. You don't care about what they, how they progress, or you don't care about their life skills that they get in classes. That's the way that I read that. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, right? Because this is hard sometimes when I just read it in text. But at the end of the day, in any business, the numbers are important. In any business, right? But it's not more important than the customer. And you do what's right for the customer. And if you do that and you give them choices, let me give an example. Actually happened last night. I got a text message from my instructor last night. Actually, I didn't. I saw that we had 2 upgrades last night. There were no upgrade appointments on the calendar last night. None. Ironically, 2 people came in from our basics program, 2 different families, and they were inquiring about getting a new uniform. This is what happened. This is where you understand how everything fits together, because there's more than just one profit center in your school. He had the opportunity that he could sell them a now $50 basic uniform, right? They used to be $40, now $50 basic uniform, knowing full well that in a month or 2, that he probably was going to ask them because they're ready. Why do they need a new uniform? They've been with us for a while. They're outgrowing it. It's maybe a little tattered. So he could have sold them the $50 uniform. And you want to talk about, this is what I think nickel and diming people is. And then 30 days later, talk to him about our Black Belt Club program in this case, get them in Black Belt Club, but now they buy the new Black Belt Club uniform and they're never going to use that $50 uniform they just paid for. I think that's the wrong thing to do. So long story short, he took 2 of those yesterday. They wanted to buy a new uniform for the basics program. And he turned it around and he said, hey, listen, you can certainly do that. But I do want to let you know that Johnny's been on our lookout list and we're looking at him for Black Belt Club. He's been doing a great job in classes. I can sell you the new uniform, but I just don't want you to have it and then not have to use it, because if he is going to go into Black Belt Club, I'd rather see you do that. Both people upgraded to Black Belt Club last night because he understands how the concept of the 5 profit centers work, and he didn't force them to upgrade. He gave them an option and was looking out for their best interest. And again, not everybody sees it that way. People are going to see it, oh, that was a sales opportunity. You took advantage of the person.
But I appreciate, Mr. Rivera, if you're still watching, your system, you said my system.
Right.
I teach, I think you mean Kali, probably Kali.
Yeah, Kali, yep.
Yep. My system, I teach Kali, kickboxing, modern karate, one price. That's what martial arts is all about. Fantastic. That's your system. That's your core, right? But let me ask you something, Mr. Rivera. Here's my question. Do you teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in your school? And if you want to respond, you can. But let's just assume, because if you say, yes, I do, then I'll say, well, do you teach Hapkido in your school? Do you teach? Because I'm going to make a point on here. But let's just say you don't. And let's just say, okay, you do. Okay, very good. All right. So I'm assuming that your system is Kali, kickboxing, modern karate, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They get all of that for one price is what I'm going to assume, since you left Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out. Maybe it's part of your system. Yeah, it's part of the syllabus. So that's your core product. But here's my question. If all your students started coming in and saying, I'm making this up, so don't take it literal. We really, we really would love to see if we can learn. We saw this on ESPN where these kids are flipping around and doing these tricks and this, that, and the other with these kids, let's say, and we really want to learn it. And can you offer that? Well, if you said, you know what, we have time, we could offer those classes. Let's bring in one of my friends actually competes and does that stuff. I don't do that stuff. I'm a traditionalist, whatever the narrative is, right? But now I'm going to bring it in. Is that still all included in one price? At what point is it not included in one price, right? What if you had to bring in people just because your students want that stuff, right? And you could do all one price. But then I ask you this. If this is all one system, that is the Taekwondo, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's your system. But if you say, well, you could do Kali classes and just rank all the way up in that, you could do kickboxing and rank all the way up in that, you could do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and not do any of the traditional modern karate, and you can rank up in that. If it's really 3 different systems, you let everybody do that for all one price? I would say reverse engineer that, and let's just pretend a minute you charge $100 a month and you could take all of these systems, right? Then what I would say, well, sir, that's why I brought the narrative that you're a traditionalist and I don't do that stuff, because I know you don't believe in the flip stuff. But it doesn't mean that other kids do when they see it, right? If they want to just expand, right? Okay, we cover each other on cost. But here's the deal, though. under my organization, we cover each. But here's my question. If a student can just do Kali, kickboxing, modern karate, nothing else, like if that was the case, why don't you charge $40 a month for just the modern karate? Why don't you just do that, right? Save your customers money. If they're not interested in all of it, if it's different systems, just charge $50 for that one. You can pay $50 for that one, or it's $100 for all of them, right? You can reverse engineer it too, because some of your students, for example, there's some students that come into Taekwondo, I'm just using this as an example, that just have no desire to get on the ground and learn grappling. They have no desire. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. They have no desire. Well, then don't do it, right? But my friend loves it. So is it fair that I'm charging them the same price when this student's doing both and this student's only doing one? I don't think it is. I would reduce my price if you're only going to do one art, is a different way of looking at it. So, and by the way, it's not wrong. And you said it. Can you be successful not having upgrades? Yes. But what I say is, what business, forget martial arts, what business doesn't offer upgrade opportunities for the customers, right? And yes, I don't know of one.
We talked about testing fees last time, right? And that's another big taboo thing. People charge or don't charge, and then people say, well, we're all inclusive. Okay, great. So you're all inclusive. So what you're saying is, whether a person tests, like, well, and I hear this all the time. Well, we took our testing fees, what we would charge, and we add them to our monthly tuition, so that way we're getting paid whether they test or not. Was that fair? So now they're paying their testing fees every month because you included it, right? Whether they want to test or whether they test or not. So basically, the flip side of that is, okay, so you're price gouging. You're charging for people for things that they may or may not do, right? So you can flip it and you can spin it however you want to. And the idea is just to be mindful of the fact that there's options out there. Every business out there has an upgrade program. And I just think we have a long way to go in the martial art industry. Number one, to professionalize the industry. Number one, from the onset of the people that are looking at the martial arts industry, to professionalize it. And number two, and I say this all the time, when someone says, we have a student right now, she plans on going to college. She didn't get the scholarship she was looking for, but she's a great instructor for us, great instructor. And I think she's going to end up staying, but she wouldn't stay and not go to college if she didn't see the pathway and where she could get to as a martial art instructor. And people, if you say doctor, lawyer, chiropractor, and martial art instructor in the same sentence, they're going to say, okay, is this the start of a joke, or what are you telling me here? Because at the end of the day, you're a martial art instructor. What is your full-time job, right? And that's just a rap that we've gotten in this industry for so long. And this is why having the options for your people, and if you look at any business, the best businesses in the world, and look around at what's happening. Number one, they have a core product. Number two, they have an ascension program. And number three, they have recurring revenue. Every business out there is trying to get into that model.
So listen, first, I want everyone to understand, we're here to have discussion, right? And so I don't want anybody being told, like, why do we care what you decide to do, right? It does. I mean, we're just and don't get caught with blinders on, right? I want to address Mr. Schneider's thing here, but back on Mr. CJ Rivera, where, for example, right, where you put, I don't believe in that flip stuff, right? I don't like seafood, and I also don't drink alcohol. So I'm going to open up my steakhouse. I'm not going to offer any seafood, and I'm not going to offer any alcohol because I don't believe in that stuff. I mean, I have no problem with that stuff. I just don't like it. I just don't like it, right? Well, my point is why would I do that? Well, because I have customers that do like it, right? No matter what style I teach, right? It has nothing to do with my core product, right? At the end of the day, if I can keep my students, especially kids, if you work with kids, if I can keep them more engaged by offering other things that they see value in that will make them more athletic, right? That flip stuff may have nothing to do with martial arts, but I guarantee you the core strength that it takes to do that flip stuff and the agility and the coordination is second to none on that stuff, right? As an example, but I'm just saying to as an example of offering that. I may not like it. I may not even teach it. I may have somebody else come in and teach it, just to offer it to keep my students even more excited, right? And then Mr. Schneider, good stuff as always. Thank you. What upgrade programs do you like in your schools? So listen, here's another thing I will say. I don't, it's not about what programs do you like in your schools, because I've worked with a lot of MMA schools. I worked with Greg Jackson out of Albuquerque. I say these names because you'll recognize them if you follow MMA. John Hackelman at the Pit in California, Matt Lindland with Team Quest, Ricardo Laborio 15 years ago, back when they were building American Top Team as a more than just a fighter school. And their upgrade programs looked, especially Matt Lindland. I was out in Oregon, sat with him for a whole day, and we structured, well, what would an upgrade program look like in an MMA gym? So we changed the names. It's not Black Belt Club, Masters Club. It was Basic, Elite, and Ultimate. And we did things that would appeal to his customer base. So Mr. Snyder, an upgrade is this. It's anything your customers can see value in that you feel would complement their core training, right? But not reduce it, not change it in any way. And then you offer it, and you let your customers decide if they want to do that. Okay. And then let's see.
Oh, Jason is on.
No, Mr. Rivera, hold on. Mr. Rivera. This is what I mean. This to me is the issue we have to understand. We live in a society where the cost of everything is going up. Why charge more for programs in martial arts?
Well,
don't charge more, charge less. Charge less for just one of your offerings, so you can get more students in that just want to specialize in modern karate or Kali or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Charge less. But if they want to add something in, there's a value to that. Charge a little more. So I'm not saying to charge more. I'm saying charge less. Instead of picking your price and saying it includes everything, charge less. And then if people want to add on, if they see the value of that, add on. I mean, it's so don't look at it like you're trying to get money from people. It's, again, sir, you won't walk into a restaurant. I don't care if you go to Ruth's Chris or you go to the Waffle House. You're not going to walk in there and order your waffles or your pancakes, and then they're going to bring you your drink for free and everything for free. You see a value if you want add-ons and this, that, and the other. But your pancakes are your pancakes. But if you say, I want imagine if you go to Waffle House and they say it's one price. You could have the pancakes, the eggs, the grits, the French toast. You can have it's all one price. But by the way, it's $50. I'd say, I don't want to pay $50 because I don't even want all this stuff. Well, it's one price. Why don't you just charge me $8 for the pancakes that I want? That's what I'm telling you to do. Just charge $8 for the pancakes for the modern karate, period. And then if they want to add on other stuff, let the customer do that if they want, right? And okay, so I've seen martial arts programs. By the way, I really appreciate that. I appreciate finally that somebody is wanting to dialogue, right? And have a discussion. I really do. I've seen martial arts programs charge $80 for a uniform, $50 for test fees, and then have to pay $150 a month. How can a single mom can afford the bills on top of it? Sir, how can a single mom afford $50 a month in certain areas for martial arts? I don't know that answer. I don't know. But sir, I don't know what your school is. I don't know what you do. We have over 2,000 students just in Orlando. We have 115 licensed schools around the country. And I'm willing to bet on anybody here, if you have one location, we give more scholarships out for people than most schools have as students for those single moms, by the way. So do you have 100 people in your school not paying anything because they lost their job? We do. Not in one school, but we do, because we were able to do that. We've given hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Orange County Public Schools as a donation. And our scholarships, not only if somebody comes into our school, let's say they sign up and they can't afford it because mom gets a divorce or they lose a job. I don't let anybody walk out of our school because they lose a job or can't afford it. We have a scholarship for them. We will subsidize the difference for their martial arts programs. On top of that, though, with all the public schools, we will provide to the principals scholarships for their discretion on which children or child do they feel would benefit the most from martial arts training, and they can present that child with a scholarship to one of our schools. We would not be able to do that if I couldn't afford to do that, or if my space was too packed. Couldn't do that. So I mean, there's always a price point. Some people can't even afford $50. Some people can't afford $200. It's not for me to determine that just in the way I'm going to structure my business. My business and the value that I provide is worth X. And that's what it is. And if you come in and you're like, I can't afford it. Well, let me ask you, how much do you feel you can budget? What I won't do, Mr. Rivera, is I won't do something for one that I couldn't offer to all. So what I won't do is say, we charge $100 a month. And somebody says, oh, that's a lot, I can't afford it. What I won't do is say, well, can you pay 80? I won't do that. That's not fair to everybody else who made it work. But what I will do is I'll say, well, how much do you feel you can afford to budget for martial arts? I think I can budget $80 a month. Okay, well, you may qualify for a scholarship. Why don't you fill this out? But on that scholarship, it says, and it's private. What's your average household income? Okay. Does your child qualify for free or reduced lunch at school? And the reason why you feel you would benefit from this scholarship. If they fill that out, we will pay the $20 to make that $100. But there's other catches to it. The catch is, number one, you got to get your child here at least twice a week, because we're here to try to get results, whatever those results are you want. The other catch is we're going to check in with you every 90 days to see if your financial situation changed. Why? Because maybe in 90 days, you could pay the extra $20 a month now, which will allow us to offer more scholarships to other kids that may need it. And if you can't, it's okay, but we're going to check in with you every 90 days. Those are the catches on the scholarship. So there's a lot more to this, guys. And at the end of the day, nobody has to do anything, right? But you're talking to someone, by the way, Mr. Rivera, if I show you my first ad, and I have it in my other office, and you know this, Tass, I've showed it a bunch of times. Whatever you're doing, Mr. Rivera, I did even better, because you're saying, how does a parent pay? When I started, I charged $4 a class. And when you first came in, you filled out your guest registration, and it was a $2 registration fee. So your first class was $6. By the way, right on my ad, it says uniforms are optional. Optional, because I said if people can't afford a uniform, they can wear a t-shirt and sweatpants. That's how I started. And it was $4 a class. Thank God I was still living at home with my parents, because I would have been homeless and out of business. So then what I did is I said, well, if you pay $40 up front, you could get 12 classes for $40. So you're getting 2 free. I thought that was going to be the game changer. Thank God I was living with my parents, because I would have went out of business. I thought everybody would come to my school because it was so affordable. It wasn't until I got more educated on the business side that logic doesn't always work in business. Now that we charge our students $1,500 a month to train at our school 2 days a week, we could give scholarships. Tass didn't hear that. That's a joke, sir.
No, I didn't. You cut out for a second.
Oh, good. I said, now that we charge $1,500 a month for 2 classes a week, we can provide scholarships.
That's right. That's yeah. But that's on the high level program.
Yeah, right. You got to upgrade.
That's funny. So I see Sir Jason and I is on here. Good to see you, sir. His question: do you see businesses align on one side or the other of this issue, depending on local market and economy? No. I think people align on one side or the other of, I'm assuming, upgrades based off of their belief system. Right. So regardless of the economy or the market that you're in, all of these things can work. It's just a matter of what their belief system is, or maybe their perception of how they run an upgrade, or how other people run an upgrade program, or maybe they came from a school that ran an upgrade program that they didn't believe in, right? And they don't want to do that because they've got some baggage that goes back a little ways. So there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. There's no question. You made this comment years ago at one of our seminars. So some of you guys have upgrade programs, you just don't know you have them. You call them something else, and if you guys teach private lessons, you have an upgrade program. Why are you charging an extra X dollars for a 30-minute private lesson? Why don't you just give it to them for free? Well, that's an upgrade. It's a choice. If they want to do the private lesson and pay for it, they certainly can, right?
And by the way, if you say, well, no, we don't, that's all included, it's free. But you can't do that for every one of your students unless you just have 20 students. If all 100 students said, I want to get a private lesson every week, you're going to have to say no eventually. Right. And by the way, some of you would say, well, that's not an upgrade, right? But it is an upgrade. It's because what is an upgrade? Anything you can offer that costs extra money that your customers see value in. I see value in getting a one-on-one lesson with the instructor, and I'm going to pay $50 for that hour above and beyond what I'm paying. It is an upgrade. It's not your traditional upgrade, but it is an upgrade, right? And then real quick, is instructor program in one of the upgrades or free? There's two different things. We have instructor trainings, meetings and trainings every single week. So the high school, or if you're old enough, and especially in the summer, if you want to come to these trainings, you can. However, we do an instructor college, and there's written tests, and there's that's a fee if somebody wants to do that. And then there's leadership programs, which is extra because not everybody's interested, and there's a book, there's a syllabus on that. It's in depth. It's an extra time on the weekend that we have to offer. That being that's an extra cost as well. But Mr. Morales says, I wish the fully loaded truck was the same price as the base model. It's true, right? We could get the same car, but you want the navigation, you want the bigger engine. It's all choices. I don't, you do. It's just value, right? Have either of you ever hired a person or family member that started out on a scholarship program? 100%. Yes, we have.
Yeah.
100%.
My daughter didn't pay a thing.
He put his daughter on a scholarship. That's back before he joined Maya, when he couldn't afford to have her train in his
own. She pays the most amount in the school.
That school is in New Jersey. Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Awesome information, and thank you for talking and perspectives. Right. Right. We train in no gi unless we do jujitsu. You have to buy the gi. Right. So anyway, I mean, it's a good topic, but you could see how some people in the industry, a lot of people in the industry have just programmed themselves that upgrades are bad, that they don't just open their mind a minute and say, hold on. Let me just listen. Let me just hear if this makes sense at all. But here's the other fact. Here's the other fact. You can't argue that people don't want to pay more. You can't say that. You can't say people don't want to sign for longer terms. You can't say people don't want to do contracts. When I have over 2,000 students for 31 years that do, right? And that's just Orlando. Plus another 100. Tass, if you had a guess, and Miss Connor, you try to guess. And it's just a rough guess. With our CMA schools around the country, and some of you are on here, how many total students do you think we have on this system? Are you doing math?
I'd say close to 30,000. That's at average schools, 225 students on 122 schools. Oh, but if you're talking about an upgrade, then I would take 80% of that number.
She's agreeing with you. So let's just say in this system, by the way, we do terms. We have upgrades. 30,000 students. So what we can't say is people don't want to do that. People feel nickel and dimed. You can't say that when we have maybe 30,000 students doing that. And by the way, thriving. And by the way, providing careers for a lot of these students, right? So, here you go. So Michael Perry tuned in and he said he's guessing 25,000 minimum, minimum. So you got to get these things out of your head. You can have an argument, but you can't have an argument that just is disproven, right? It's just, you can't say that. You can have your opinion, but
so
this is okay. So I don't believe in contracts due to the cost of New York City. They want to leave, they can go. My jiu-jitsu coach where I train with no contract. You're 100% correct. The problem, Mr. Rivera, here is, because what did I tell you I charged? $4 a class, pay as you go, right? But here's the difference. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just giving you something to think about. But why would somebody go? Why would somebody go? Most of the time, forget financial, right? And moving. But I got bored, right? But not everybody, the majority of people, I'm talking 99%, will get bored at some point, especially kids and adults. They will get bored. And here's the thing. It's normal. Sir, you sound like a lifelong martial artist. Even you don't feel like, there's days that you just don't feel like going in and teaching tonight. Now we do it and we love what we do, but there's just some days where, boom. Well, when a student feels that way, if they feel that way for a period of time, I'm going to take a break. Not quitting, I'm going to take a break. And a lot of times they don't ever come back, right? If somebody is on a term agreement with us and they just disappear, we do not take them to court. We don't take them to collections. However, we don't sell memberships, right? We talked about this. We don't sell membership contracts. We sell a program, just like a car, for example. If you want to go buy the fully loaded truck, right? And it's $70,000. You can write me a check and give me $70,000 and the car is yours. And by the way, if you get bored of that car, if you get bored, you could get out of it and just turn it in if you want, but you may be upside down. So you might be like, I got to drive it a little bit more. And then maybe you start falling in love with it. Or they'll say, well, you can finance it. Don't give me $70,000, just pay $700 a month for 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, whatever you want. When someone comes to our school, we have a program. This is this program. Do you want to buy this program? It's our core program. You can train up to this level. This is what you're going to learn. Here's everything you're going to get when you buy this program. And it costs $1,200. I'm making this up. Do you want to give me $1,200 or do you want to make 12 payments of $100? Or do you want to put $900 down and make 12 payments of $10 or $20? You know, like however you want to finance that program, but you buy it. And we make sure we deliver on what it is they bought, right? And when the program's over, it's over. And if they want to buy it again or buy a different program, whatever, it's fine. So there's just different ways, okay? Yeah, but Mr. Rivera, don't worry about what other people do, right? And that's fine. People can do whatever they want to do. He's saying these guys take people to court. That's fine. I mean, listen, if they're still in business, obviously they probably take care of more customers and make them happy than not, right? I don't know who they are or what they do, but I don't worry about that stuff. I don't worry about what other people do. I only worry about what we do. And it's people like that, by the way, that I think give contracts the bad name and terms and all that stuff. So, Mr. Nelson, I just implemented term agreements in December. So far, they've helped parents stay more committed and the students end up much better due to the consistency.
People have a mental attachment when they sign up for a program which has a term, right? That they're mentally committed, more mentally committed to it than somebody else. And by the way, if I was doing month to month, I can argue the month to month. Well, month to month, I have to be good every month to make sure that my students are coming back. You can argue both sides. I think that, the thing as always is understand the intent of what we're trying to do, right? Is to maybe to get you to think differently. Maybe sometimes we get a little passionate. We talk at the screen a little bit, but it's to get you to think a little bit differently. And at the end of the day, has no bearing on my life or Metzger's life, whether or not you put an upgrade program in your school or you don't, whether you have term agreements or you don't. Our mission, has it been five years now, 6 years we've been doing the show? It's been a while.
It's been longer than that. It's been maybe 7.
Almost 7 years. I mean, yes. Pretty consistently on Thursdays. And, you want to talk about the long game. This is just an interesting deal. When you provide, we really do try and provide great information for you guys. I know sometimes we get caught up in the banter and we get excited, we get passionate, but we try and provide great information. But it's interesting that the last, several elite clients that have come on board, and I've onboarded, I've just asked them the question, well, how'd you hear about us, right? And what made you finally decided to pull the trigger? Well, without fail, they're like, I've been following you guys for a long time on the Metzger Tassoul Show, right, on Thursday, and they see the ads and they do this. But if you want, this is me digressing a different topic, but if you want more students in your school, and if your mission is to truly impact as many people as possible, just continue to provide value, because that's what we're seeing. But this is 6-7 years later that we've been doing this, right? And now it's starting to really ramp up, and people, they hear it, they hear the value, they hear what we're doing. So be that person in your community, provide the good value, get out in your community, do those things, show everybody what you're all about. And look, anybody can have a successful school. Our job as consultants, really, as coaches, whatever, just as human beings, right? But what we do in our job is for us to help you maximize your success, not just be successful, right? It's to maximize that level of success for you. So that's why sometimes we come across passionate, but understand, and Metzger, said this, and his mentor told us years ago, but really try and cut through all of it and understand what is the intent that we're trying to deliver. And that is, hey, we're just here to help. And however we can do that, and if that makes you think differently and we kind of rock the boat and you want to call and ask questions and learn more information, absolutely. We're here to help you guys.
That's it. That's it, guys. At the end of the day, everyone can do what they want, but there's history and there's studies. I've done it all. I don't think there's one person on here, and I don't think there's one person that any of you know that charged $4 a class and advertised uniforms are optional, pay as you go, no contracts, no nothing. They said it right on the ad, because that's all I knew back then, right? So my producer just walked in and said, wrap it up. It's getting old. It's getting boring.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, now he said viewership's going up since we just said we're going to get off.
Appreciate. But on a serious note, really appreciate the comments. I know it's harder sometimes to type than it is just to comment on a Zoom, right? Which is great, but a lot of times we don't get a lot of participation, and that's where we can really help. Because if you've got questions or comments or concerns or challenges or debates, right? That's where we can have some really good dialogue. And if you're thinking those things, other people are going to be thinking those things, and you're helping other people learn as well, which is awesome. It really will help get the industry to the next level, which is cool.
Guys, we appreciate all of you. We love the industry. We're martial artists. We're in the industry just like you. We're just trying to just give different perspectives. We appreciate you guys. We hope to see you here next Thursday. This show, there's no upgrades. You know what? There is no upgrades on the Metzger Tassoul Show.
Oh, got to fix that.
Next week, we'll put a link
you
to
can
sell our consulting service.
High def next week for $10.
That's a great idea. We'll work on that. Guys, hope you appreciate the humor too.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, guys. Tass.
Appreciate everybody. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.